Hey, Fitzy here, back at it again with another one. I went and put complete rockers, lower doorpost sections, inner floor sections, lower sills, cab corners. I replaced every bit of this here in this section of the truck and never had nothing to go by other than this rusty piece of metal. I'm going to show you how valuable it was saving this piece. Stick around. Alright, we're back at the Datsun again, the old Datsun pickup. 72, I think it is. 72, 73, somewhere around there. This is what I'm into now. In a previous video, I went and replaced the inner rocker section and front mount and on the front floor pan. I got all that done. So now I'm on the outside here now. This section here has been patched up before. It's hard to see, but there's a piece brazed in it. It also has a rocker panel put on it. You can see there's rivets and everything put in it. So this has overlapped the original one. So I'm pretty sure it's still underneath it. And of course then I got this cab corner back here. Now I have nothing new. I'm going to have to make all this up. The inner structure here is all bad. So what I'm going to do here first is I'm going to remove this rocker. This old rocker skin. You can see there's rivets on the bottom of it as well. So this is riveted on and it seems to be also brazed on the end. So it's there a long time. So I'm going to cut that off to see what's underneath it, to see what we got to go by. Because the problem you got when you overlap a pan like this here, all your gaps close up and whatnot. So like the gap for the door is probably down here somewhere, not up here where it's two. So I'm going to go ahead now, I'm going to strip that off and see what we got. So I went ahead and I got it all cut out. I got the piece cut out. You can see the original inner rocker section is still there. Now you can just imagine this here. This is bare metal. Huh? I never done nothing with this, and this was brazed in it. So I'm willing to say this panel has been brazed in this car some 30 years, I'd say. And here's the inner panel. That's bare metal. Yes, it's rusted on the bottom. A lot of people ask me, you know, how to protect your metal inside. This is a truck that's been in Newfoundland now a long time. This rusted out in the 70s, I'm willing to say. For sure. This rocker panel was probably put on because that's when brazing was on the go. So that's probably 4 years ago. And they cut it off and they never done nothing with it. You can see there, that's just grinded off. I never done nothing with that. That's just bare metal there. And in here as well, you can see where they grinded it down. That's still bare metal. It's not, you can see over here it's starting to rust in some spots and whatnot. But it's something to be said about, like, you know, bare metal in different places. Because like you would think now that this here would be all rusty inside this here. But like you're talking about, that was overlapped some 40 years ago and was never even treated. Like, people have a concept of rust that if it doesn't paint, that it's just going to come out of nowhere. That's not so much the case. A lot of problems with rust in cars comes from driving them in harsh weathers. You know, a lot of people talk about treating metals and stuff like that. I agree, yes, it should be all painted and treated on the inside and whatnot. But if something be said about a panel that was put on 40 years ago in bare metal, okay? Now there's the amount of rust that happened in 40 years. Okay, there's cars out there that are from the 90s that rusted worse than this. Now it was only an old patch panel that was brazed on. You can see it was brazed on here. So it's not like it was something that was put on 2 years ago. This was put on at least in the 80s. Like, I don't know too many fellas in the 90s that were still brazing panels on. One or two maybe. But, like, you know, so you can go back that far and it's still 25, 30 years. So now, enough about that. What I went and did, now first thing you're going to want to do is start cutting everything out of it. Cut all the rust out of it, get it all out of the way, get back to fresh metal, because we got some stuff to do on the inside. The problem I got with this truck is I have no panels, okay? I got nothing to go by. So when I cut all this out of the way, I'm going to be left with nothing. What am I going to go by? So what I went and did is I turned around and I took some measurements here, and I got some marks made here from a template that I got made up to go on there. I measured from here. I got a measurement road here, and I got a measurement road here. And I also got a measurement road from this line that I marked here over to here. I'm trying to get this point here. My whole goal is right now is to concentrate on this area here. Not going to worry about none of that, okay? Can't go cut none of this out of it yet. Can't go cut none of this out of it yet. Because the problem I got is I need each individual part to continue on. I got to start somewhere. If you cut all this out of this panel, you got nothing to go by. How far out do you come? How far down do you come? You don't know. So right now I have this point right here, which has a piece of metal done over the top of it. So it's probably, 18 gauge, or in the case of this here, I think that's about 22 gauge. So that metal there, so we're pretty closer. So I got this point here that I can go by, because that's still original there, okay? And so I measured off of this here, which is this part here, which is the original rocker panel, and I measured it up, and I got that measurement. So now I know it's my height. Over here, I just took a rough measurement from here out to here to make sure that this plane is the same here. Okay, roughly about that. I took a measurement, a diagonal measurement from here up to here, to that point. So then I had that point there. So I got 2 points now to find out where all that's to. Plus I took a measurement from here to this point here. So I got lots of measurements there. Now what I went and did is I took a piece of cardboard, Tony with templates. So I got this here now made, drawn up as you can see. I've tried a couple of attempts on it. The outside line is the one I'm going by. And that fits right there. And that lines up at the bottom and gives me my shape and all that type of stuff. And then on the back side over here, I have a couple of points marked. And don't get carried away with this. You can see that distance in there, and you can line up their marks there. So they lines up good there. And same with the bottom one down here. So I got a couple of points that I can put that piece of cardboard that will actually give me this intersection here. So now I got something to go by to get that straightened away. I think I have enough measurements. Like this one here is going to be this width here. We know that, right? And I'm going to leave most of that there. So what I'm going to go ahead now is I'm going to cleave off this corner here and start here. I'm not going to cut all this rocker out of it because I got to get inside there. As you can see, I got an inner rocker gone here. So I got to work on that section there. But I'm going to try to take this apart in one piece. I'm going to go in here. I'm going to cut a section of this out of it. Come up across here. Come across here. Down here. I'm going to try to take a large chunk of this out of it. So then I still got something to go as a template. I see too many fellas chopping stuff out of cars and then welding stuff back up and then realizing, nothing's fitting right. The bottom of the door sticks off. The gaps are not right. This is your template. All this stuff is your template. As rusty as this is still retaining its original shape, as you can see there. So I want to save all this here to have something to go by. Now I got that cut out of the way. You can see now I got to work with that there, so I can start repairing this here. I cut a section of the rocker out as well. Well, here's what I went and did. I saved it, right? I cut it out, put it the right way. I cut it out in such a way that I still had retained all the pieces. See how everything was put together, how the rocker continues on inside the truck. It just ends. And how it joins. I went and Googled some pictures, and the rocker panel just flows right into this here. There's no seam or nothing here, so I'm going to repeat that as well. So I'm going to say there was probably some sort of lead seam or something they had there, or brazing or something. Because I found it hard at the cab corner and the rocker was one, but all the pictures I've looked at, there is no seam here. So. But I'm going to save this now. I got that for measurements and just check for shapes and to get ideas of how things are put together. Right, there's the other piece there. I always like to save this stuff because I can always use it for reference. Right, now I'm going to go back over here now, and I'm going to start cleaving this out of the way here. I'll take a measurement, just make sure I got it the right length. It's going to come to here anyway, so there's no big measurements, but it do kick out on the bottom. And I got an issue here with the seatbelt bolt, so I'm going to remove that and put a whole new piece there and then reinstall that bolt back in place again. So that'll be nice and strong again. And I'll come over here, so I'm going to cut it right off, clean it right off, and replace all the pieces, clean all this off here. So I'm going to go ahead now and get this all ready and start making up a piece for that. Okay, I got everything cut out of the way. Got the piece cut out of it, so I'm back to solid metal now on everything. So I'm happy with that. So now what I'm going to do first, I always tell everybody we'll start working from the inside out. So I'm going to do this floor section first. Then I'm going to do this back section to come down, that goes across here for the bottom of the inner door post. and then I'm going to do this lower section here, so there's going to be 3 sections made out of it. So I'm going to go ahead and start making that before I get started. I want to thank a subscriber. He sent me a little thank you box. He sent me out a grinder and some cotton wheels. You know who you are. Thank you very much. It was greatly appreciated. Another grinder to add to the list. There's nothing wrong with getting a nice little case and everything. Oh, yes, bud. Some grinding stones as well. That's deadly. What's the product on that there? Metal bond. I don't know if I've never used this stuff before. Nice small little grinder, nice little body on it. It's much the same as my other one. This one here I got a lot of years. I got a couple of them there. That one there is much the same as the ones that I used to use, which I greatly appreciate. I'm going to modify the guard on that. That is a great thank you from a subscriber. Greatly appreciate it. And I want to get some good use out of all that. And I'll put it to good use. I'm going to set that up there and I'm going to use that today. Alright, I got the piece all cut out, trimmed up, and fitted. You come over here now and I got this all trimmed up. I got the piece on the back side there drilled out for spot welds. I got the spot on the back there drilled out for spot welds. This piece here is going to come in here. I already trimmed it up now, so it'll butt weld there. And what I'm going to do then, I'm going to do the cotton butt from underneath. So I got a cut up here in the end, up in this corner here. I got that cut back. Right there. There you go. I got that cut back there. So it'll butt onto that, and then it comes out, and there's a bit of a lip on that, and then I'll cut that off there, do the cotton butt on it, and clean up along there. And I'll clean up that section there, and I'll weld this in. So there you have the first piece welded in. I butt welded it in down along here, and plug welded it up here, as you can see here. It's been plug welded there. And I got the lift on it, and then I come in here and I re-welded it again in here, and then I grinded it all down. So I got that ready to go. So that piece is done. So now I'm going to move on to this piece. I haven't said it enough that just work at one piece at a time, finish it right off. This is done now. I'm going to do nothing else with it. You know, the whole thing is done, grinded, the whole work. So now I'll do is I'll go in here and I'll start working on this piece here and get that finished up. Okay, I got a piece of steel cut out here. I got it lined up level on the bottom. For some reason I managed to cut it the exact width. I think it was only 5.5 inches. But anyway, so then I had to notch it down here because this has to stick off. If you look over on the other side over there, you can see that it sticks off a bit on the back side. So I got that done there. And I leveled it off across here with the original rocker. Some may say, Tony, why don't you cut the entire inner rocker out of it? This is rusty. It's a surface rust on it. That is a solid steel. Same with in here on the floors. Some of you are seeing a lot of rust on the bottom of this truck. It's still solid. I'm welding to it. So if it was rusty, you wouldn't be able to weld to it. I clean it up and weld's best kind. It's more of a like a heavy scale rust on it. You clean that off. It's right nice. I'll clean all that off, paint it now before I put the rocker in it. But anyway, so I got that all fitting in there now where I'm happy with it. Level here, sticks off here. And now, right here, this rocker has a lip on it. There's a lip on the inner rocker that rolls along here. It turns up for this here. I marked it here, and I marked it on the inside. See right here, you can see there's a step in it. Right? And that step flows up here and then flows into this here. So that panel there will go like that. So what I need to do now is I got to duplicate this little section here for the panel. Now, back over to the voice again. Here's the piece I got marked out. Right here. That's the line there, that's the upper lip. So what I need to do is this here needs to come down, turn in, and then go this way. I don't want to bend it up here anymore, and that got to roll there, so this here got to stand off. So I'm just going to clamp that device, and I'll do on a flat section first. And then I'll work on the rolled edge. You've seen me do this in other videos. The devices are great. I got an old hammer, old masonry hammer looks to be. Now if you look at it, you can actually see it rolls back. So now what I'll do is I'll work on rolling this edge here. I'll do the same process, but I'll just use it on an angle here. There you got a nice little roll edge. Okay, as you see here now, I got a hole drilled. That's for the seatbelt bolt. I went and cleaned this up off the piece of steel. It's a plating system. It was held down with 4 spot welds here, and I'll just repeat the same process again. That was mounted out here like so. And all I did is I went over on the other side there, took a measurement off the other one from the inside, and repeated it over here. Got the right height, so you can see that it's pretty well close to the floor. I'm going to set this one up over here now so I can weld it on. And I marked that just now on the intersection so I can clean that out of the way there, give it a bit of room in there. So then I can go ahead and start setting this up for weld this on. All of it did then. I clamped it in place here. Marked it. Then I marked 4 locations, drill out spot welds. I have them drilled there now. All I'm going to do is I'm going to go in now and plug weld all these in place. And then that will be attached back to the way that was from factory. So I went ahead and marked it and drilled out some spot welds. I got them all set up there now. I got the pieces painted on the inside and out, so I can actually weld all this together here now. So I'm going to weld this piece on next and have that done. I went and cut it, and I cut the butt on this here because I want to get the fit nice. I had to put a little dimple in it right here where the actual seam came down and ended here. So I went ahead and just put that in the vise and hammered it down. It's just a little tiny dent. All I did is I use the gap I've done before, gap like that, lay it flat on that and hammer it down into it. That's all I did there. So I'm going to go ahead now and I'm going to weld all that in place and get that panel finished. Okay, I got that all welded in, got it all ground down, ready to go, and I went ahead then, and I made this piece, just a flat piece of steel, got a bend on it. I notched it out with the, all I did there is use the grinder and the stone, and then I took the die grinder and dressed it up, so it'll fit around the seat belt, because if you look over on the other side over there, I'll zoom in on this, you can see the way that curves around it. So I went and duplicated that. Also, if you look closely, you'll see it comes straight down. Right there, comes straight down there, which is basically the same as what I got done here. So I just made that piece up. Just bent it up in the vise. So now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to weld that one in. It's only spot welded in on the back side here. A couple of spot welds. And then I plug welds on the top, and then I'm going to weld it in along this section here on the inside and out, and I'll dress that all up and all. So I got that welded in, as you can see there now. So now it's all structurally sound again. You may look here and see a bit of the way this goes like this, but the other side, if you look closely, is the same way. So the outer piece now that goes out here will go over the 2 of them, and there'll be a little triangle shaped piece in here and inside. But I welded it on the inside, and I welded it out here as well, and then grind it all off. Then I come around the back here and never grinded them off yet, but I got the 2 of them plug well there. So I got that done, and I went ahead then I cleaned up the bottom side of this here, and I drilled 2 access holes that he can use then to put paint or to spray oil or something in there if he wants to, because that'll help saver. So now what I'm going to do next is this panel here now overlaps the corner. I'm going to continue on and make the back of the cab first. Make a piece that comes down here and a spot welds on here. And then make all this one piece so that I can go from there. I'm going to cut this section here off now, up here. I'm going to come across here and do a tidier job on it. And just cut it below this crease here. I want to keep it in this roll. Okay, so here's what I got done. I cut out a piece of steel that was too wide, too long, and then I bent it on a 90. You could try to bend this on an angle, like this here, but I always find when you got square edges, you got reference points that you can go off to get symmetrics right, like to get this 90 degree here. So all I did then is I marked out how much of this here was going to be sticking out on the bottom, which is about 1 inch. and I knew that there was going to be like a lip coming in and going down this way. So this back lip, which goes on this way here, will spot weld on here, would only be up an inch. So then I just turn around and then I mark a straight line from the original panel after I moved this piece here. I just made a straight line straight down through here. Then I went over and I picked up that piece. You can see there's a crown and a little small crown and all the way down. Right? And then I sized up the way the back side was mounted. See if we can do it. I sized up the way the panel was mounted in the back. Kind of hard to see there on the phone. I sized up how that overlapped and how it went. And you can see that it's going to come to about an inch on the bottom wide from the bottom side. So I went ahead then and I marked this out an inch here. And then I just put a gradual thing on. This here haven't got to be so precise because the panel's overlapping over an inch. So I'm going to go in now and I'm going to cut this piece off, have that piece there, and then come up here and I'm going to trim some of this off a bit more. And then I'm going to mark this here and I'm going to butt weld that piece in. Okay, I trimmed this back a bit more. So I got into good metal. And I laid this up in place and got it where I wanted it to go. And then I scribed it. You can see the scribe mark there. And so now I'm going to go over and cut that to butt. I'm not going to worry about overlapping this and doing the cutting butt on it because it's a straight piece. I can get at both sides of it. So I'm just going to go ahead, cut that off there now, and fit that in there and weld it in. Okay, so I got that all spot welded in, all welded up along there, all grinded up, ready to go. I welded it on the inside as well. I'll leave all that alone, give it strength. So now I went ahead and I started on this piece here. Now, you would think here that you just take a piece of metal here, bend it on a 90, here you go, and then, you know, put a couple of slots in it and bend it. But the problem I've always found when you're cutting slots in metal, it's only going to kink here, it's only going to kink here. You know, it's very hard to get a real gradual roll. It's great if you're going to solder it up, perfect. But what I like to do here is I'm going to make this outer section first, okay, this just flat section. Make that out here so it goes down and mounts on the rocker. And then what I'm going to do, I'm going to make it wide enough that I can put a half rolled edge on it here, okay? Put a little tiny bit of a rolled edge on it here. And then what I'm going to do is take the flat piece here and put a little bit of a rolled edge on that there, and then weld the two of them down through the seam here, weld them on the inside, then I'll get it nice, because it's got a fairly big roll on it. I think a roll in a bender will be too tight. So I went ahead and I bent up the piece. This is what I did. I made a piece that's a little bit wider, a little bit longer. Then I went and fitted on this here. This is the template that I had. And I bent it up so that it fitted. It fit that marker line that I got there. That's the shape that it's got, the contour's got to have, and that'll join up there where that bead is to, coming up the top side, and then this is the rocker down here. So then I come over here then, and I'll fit that piece there, like so. So you got it clamped in place, and you can see the way it's shaped there, the way it comes down around. And you can see now this piece here probably had to be trimmed off a bit more, so the roll, it fit nice. And I turn around, I took the cardboard template again, and I fit it up against it, like so. So it fitted nice, like that. And I got it so where I'm happy with it now. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a little rolled edge in my little T-dolly right down through here. Motor's coming down. Try it again. There it is. weld it up inside. I roll the edge on it. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to grind dress that rolled edge all the way down through there, so I have the back corner, and then I'll cut it off the right width that it needs to be, because that strip is too wide. So I'll go dress it up now. There it is. I went ahead and I grinded it and dressed it all up. I went and fit it in place. I scribed this along here, and then I just cut it clean right off, flush, because I needed to have this nice fit here and this nice fit here for all this to work. And then I went ahead and I put some clecos in it to hold it in place. I went and checked to make sure that it was straight this way. Put a straight edge along it. I'm happy with that now. As you can see now, it's a little bit longer here, which is good. I was concerned about that. Now, I can't do nothing else with this for now, but I needed this here for a reason, because I needed this bottom edge, I needed this lower lip here, and I needed the crown. So when you look down this way here, I had something for the rocker to flow to, okay? And to go off of. This piece here mounts on top of this here. This piece mounts on top of the rocker, okay? Now you would think that, okay, let's go ahead and make the rocker first. But the problem you got if you had to make the rocker first is this contour, okay? If you had to make the rocker and then try to put the cab corner on it, you would have found the rocker out too far or in too far. Now I got something to go by. There's my shape of my rocker panel there now, coming up there like that. So that's the shape that I'll use to make the rocker panel. And I'll make it all, because this rocker panel goes in behind this. Where's the big old piece there? Here it is. If you look at it, there's the rocker panel. It passes in through it. The actual rocker do. It almost goes right to the back end of it, so I'm going to do the same thing with it. Pass it right on through the panel. But I need it to, because you can tell that this here mounts is the same shape as, that's the rocker there, and then that joins onto the cab corner. So I'm going to go ahead now, and I'm going to make the rocker panel next, and I'm going to make it so that it goes in like this one here do. I got to make some changes to it. I'll show you that when it gets to that point. But this is one of the reasons why I try not to destroy things. This piece here is more valuable to me than anything. I can get a lot of measurements and go back for references off of this rusty old piece of metal. So it's always good. Try to save them. Cut them out on the good sections of the metal. Don't be afraid to cut metal out of the car, because you're going to weld it in. Most fellas might turn around and try to cut this across here and chop that out of the way first. But that's a crucial piece for if you got nothing to go by. So I'm going to go ahead now and start getting ready to make the rocker panel. So here's how I'm going to make this. I know I have this distance here from here to here, which is this bottom here. So I know I got to come up a certain height and then come out. I got a flat piece of steel here. All I'm going to do is I'm going to bend this shape here and roll this edge here. So this fits parallel to this here. When I got that so it rolls up there nice, I'll take this over here, bring this over here next to this one, and clamp it on here, and then I'll continue on following this section here. So that way I'll get the proper contour of what the rocker should be. Now here's what I got done. Been back and forth to the voice a couple of times, bending up this piece of metal. So I got it now flush against this here. So it's got the nice flow on it here. It's flush on the bottom here. And I got all the bends in it. It fits right nice on that. It's got the shape that I'm after. So now that I got that done, I let it go here and I bring it over here and line this up on the bottom of this, like so, and just clamp it on. But now I got that flush to the bottom of that, and that's coming up there now. There's my next bend there now, and now I'll follow it on in and I'll copy the top from this side over here. As you're bending this stuff up, you'll have troubles like, how am I going to get that measurement there? All you got to do, turn it upside down and mark it that way. Because all you're looking for is that length, and you're looking to put the next bend in it. So just mark it. And you'll have your next bend. And you can bend that up now and you'll have it all straightened away. Now, there it is, all made up. Flows up along right nice. Along the edge there. Comes down around, it's got a little crown on it. There's no rocker panels ever flat, there's always a small crown on them. And then it's flush on the bottom there. Okay, and I brought it over here, and the problem I got now is when I fits it over here with this lip up here, this bracket's in the way, so, but it's close. I never changed much down here at the bottom. I bent the top out just to make sure the bottom never changed, and it's best kind. Now you may ask, why do you want to be doing the likes of this? Well, you got precise measurements here now on this piece here. Okay, now the problem, like, I never made this in 2 minutes. I got up here and start making bends, and what it ends up doing, it ends up starts chasing it. This here is not high enough, or it's too high, so then he starts flattening this out, which makes that longer, which makes that in too farther, so then you got to chase the angles all back through it again. You'll get to see what happens when you bends metal, and you find out that, like, you know, if this here is too high, right here, then what ends up happening then, when you flattens this out, you make this side longer. So that'll happen if you've made a rocker panel, and trust me, if you does that on a rocker panel and has it out too far, you're going to be chasing down, you're going to have a big mess going the full end of it, so you got a nice little template. So as I bends up this rocker now, I'll use this here to take my measurements off of and make sure that the bends are in the right locations. I'll fit this into it. This should overlap right onto the panel when it's done. So then I got that made now. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to cut a piece of steel out now. And I'm going to make a rocker a little bit too longer, piece of steel, and it'll come right into here. And I'm going to end up bending up all that entire rocker next. Alright, I went ahead and I cut a piece out, cut a little bit bigger, a bit higher, normal. Found that piece of locker door piece and already had a 90 bent in it, so I'm going to use that as my bottom section here. That will be my first bend. So what I went and did is I took the protractor and I measured each individual one. Just for argument's sake, this is the last one I measured. That's that one there. I measured that one there. And what I did is right here along this edge here, if you can see it, there's little dimples. And what I did is I marked each one from the one before it. And I took a hammer and a punch and punched it. So then I got marks through it. So now when I flip it over, I got little marks on the bottom side too. So rotating it back and forward, I got a little mark where I can actually put my bends to. Also got the marks put there, and I went around and repeated the process on this side here. So each time I marked, I measured out and I marked it. I dimpled it on both sides, then measured the next one, dimpled it on both sides, and so on and so on. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to start making each individual bend. I got my first bend is already in it, so now I got to put this roll in here. So I got to be gentle on that there. What I'm going to do is I'm going to work this roll, and I'm going to get it fitting on the car, on the truck the way I want it to get it fitting. And I'm just going to take my time, work this corner here. Then I'm going to work on this roll edge, and then I'm going to go to that one there. I'm going to try to finish it off as best I can. I know when I get up in here and gets these bends here, things are going to get a little bit out of hand in the brake, because the brake's not going to be out of hand. I got to figure out some way of doing these. And I'm thinking about doing the inside one first, this one, this one, this one. There might be enough there for to grab that bottom one. So that's my plan anyway. Start from the inside, working my way out. Now I went ahead and I first bent this one square because it was on a bit of an angle. Got that straightened up. That's it. Now all I went and did is I made the bend on it. I put it on the little mark and I bent it on that. And now I'm lining this up here like so. As you can see, it's not right up here. Just got a roll on it. And I know from what I was playing around with earlier that if I bends it so this here is flat, it's going to be too tight down here. So now I got to roll this edge here to get this to roll for this panel here to fit right. As you can see the way that goes like that. I got to roll that panel now for that to fit in there before I go on and do the next one. I'm going to do this a bit different. I'm going to come up through with it. So let's just keep it tight on the roll edge. I know I got it even going across. When you pull up on it, I brought up in the thing. So now I'll just start working this across like so. This stuff is not easy to bend. Just slightly roll on it. Now, it took a bit. I ended up putting too big of a roll in it here. I ended up putting too big of a roll in here. And I ended up having to take it out of it a bit. But I got a nice crown in it now. All I did is after I put it in it, and I rolled it, and the roll was too big, I went over and reclamped it down into the brake again. I just clamped it down tight, and that just bent it back out again. I was trying to get away from not wanting to hammer it to get the roll out of it. It's a hit and miss type thing, right? Trying to get this to roll a small bit. The pipe anvil did it, but I got overboard with it. As you can see here now, there's your little roll. It's a lot harder to work with this 18 gauge, to bend it and to roll it and stuff like that. You do it a lot easier with 20 gauge, 22 gauge. That's why you see a lot of guys, rocker panels, making them up and making them out of lighter steels. That's just easier to bend. I gotta bend that out of 90. This stuff is not that easy to bend. I'm gonna go back and forth from side to side on my own brake. It has to be on that angle there. All I'm doing is I'm holding this here parallel supposedly to that to see what angle this is on. And you can see this kind of go back a good ways. It's going to go right back to the touches. And not looks like I'm going to get it in there. Bring it over the bench and finish bending it the rest of the way. Do whatever way you can do it. Work each bend till it's at the angle that you want it at. It's almost there. You can feel the metal moving. Starts to bend, right? There we go. I'm happy with that. Alright, this one here, this bend here is turning to be a lot harder than I expected. This bend here, I gotta try to bend this one up here. The problem with it is, this is where the bend gotta be, and this is what I'm running into. So this can't fit into my brake. So now I've been sizing this everything up here now, and I've run into a dilemma because these bends up here, I can't get them in the brake. I can't bend these in the brake the way it is because of my brake, because of this lower bottom foot down here. When I put it in the brake, as you can see, that there's not going to reach there. You turn it upside down, it doesn't work. So I got to thinking about it, and I come over here sizing up things, and I come to realize that, Tony, the upper rocker is in good shape. Even down here, they brazed onto the doorpost and everything, but still, you saw this is in good shape. So, a change of plans. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to cut it off here. And I'm going to make a small section to go through here. That'll weld onto the factory rocker here. Then the existing rocker that I made is going to come up here and go in and weld in this inside seam here. It's probably the best way to go about doing it, because I'm afraid what's going to end up happening when I start making these bends, I'm going to lose the distance. It's very tricky to get this distance right and get this distance right. You see me when I was making this piece. I made this piece 2 or 3 times and had to change the bends. So you can only imagine doing it with a piece that's 40 inches long. So, you know, the more I sized it all up, you know, I'm building out of 18 gauge. This stuff here, if you want to build it out of 22 gauge, you can make rocker panels all day. You can make that piece out because you can manipulate it and bend it. But where I make everything out of 18 gauge, it's very hard to bend sometimes over long distances. So you know, you got to compromise, and you got to sit down and rehash and rethink things. I've been playing around with this now 20 minutes trying to figure out what I'm going to do. And the more I look at this here and say, well, Tony, that's all, it's still original. Leave it be. So there you have it. Trimmed it up. I got it to fit there pretty good now, so that's there, it won't look bad. I'll weld that inside edge there. And the way it sits down here. What I got to do next now is I got to cap the end of this here, because this here will be capped, and then it'll have a lip on it going in behind this piece here. When I goes to make this here, that'll weld to that, because I've been feeling in behind it. The rocker comes to about right here on the inside, so it'll be just a little 1-inch lip put on it. But don't ever get overwhelmed like you make a plan, like we made a plan that we're going to continue on up here and go on with this piece here. But as I got into it and where I'm using this heavier steel, I start realizing that it wasn't going to be an easy undertaking. So now if I want to, I can bend this piece up here now and then join it back in and do the same thing again and just make it in 2 pieces. That could have been an option. But I was looking at this here, and this is so got the original holes and everything in it. It's in good shape. So I said, no, I'm going to leave that there now, join back into that, and just tidy up the section up here again, because this here wasn't rusted out. It's just that when they put the other rocker on, they brazed on over it. So I'll clean all this up here, re-weld where I cut it here, and dress it all up, and that'll look fine. Right? That'll be great there. Alright, so I went ahead and I bent this up. Just a few bends. You can manage to do this in the brake without an issue. And I got that all fit. I cut the butt there. I overlapped it, marked it, and then turn around and then cut it off so I can butt it off. So I'm going to go ahead now and weld that in place there and have that piece done. Also, I got to cap the ends. I got this here straightened away, so I'm happy with it. There's the end of this too. There we go. So I set this up so I'm happy with this edge here. So that's a nice roll on that. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to cap this end, like so for now. Just cap the end of it right off and dress it so it's a nice rolled edge on it. So that'll be the spot where the fender will come in and lay against this here, and it'll have it stepped in because it's supposed to step in a bit. And I'm going to have to put a little lip all the way around then again for the fender to rest on. Okay, I got the end of it all welded up, cap on it. I'll show you that when it takes it apart. I got it all rolled edge and everything, so it got a nice edge on it, nice roll corner. So it got something to rest on. And I turned around and went up and I welded up this section here. I cut the bottom off the door post itself. There's supposed to be a lip going across here. And I noticed that it's going to get in the way of welding this on right here. Welding this on through here. So all I'm going to do is I'll put a new piece back in here and spot weld it on like factory so I can get it at this corner here and weld it on. And I went ahead then, I trimmed it all back. So this here will line right up along here. Then come over here, you can see I got that piece welded in. Going along here, spot welded in, going in, and I got this fit in place. Then I went and did a quick test fit and trimmed up the end of it so that the cab corner will fit into the rocker panel, and it's a nice fit going along there. As you can see, down along the bottom, it's a nice fit. And now that I'm happy where everything is sitting to, that I got everything where I got to go to, I'm going to sit down now and get ready now to weld this in. I'm going to drill holes, spot welds, have all that done. Paint everything inside. I'm going to install the rocker and everything and have that done. Up here in the front, more sizing it all up. I'm going to leave this section alone for now because I got to take it all off. I'm going to need the fender to address all this problems and issues up here. So I'm going to finish it to here all the way back on everything, including all this section in back here. Finish all this on this one here because there's a lot of work. As you can see, here's the fender. There's the bottom of the fender. That's missing that much. That's supposed to come down to here, so I'm going to have to figure all that out. She's mint, look, mint. There's the lip there, a nice rolled edge on it. It's always key with them. I got to weld it on the inside so that I can roll all the edge and roll the upper corner so it looks like a proper rocker panel. Later on, I'm going to have to weld a piece onto this here to come down for the rocker to come off of, so I'll build off of that. Went ahead and I drilled all the spot welds in the bottom for that there. So I'm going to go ahead now and I'm going to paint all this and get this ready to paint, or ready to weld on. And I'm going to paint all this and all up inside there. Got all that done, lots of paint on it. And then get that ready to weld on. So I went ahead and I got all this painted. I let it dry for a couple hours. Same with this here, got all this painted. All this is a rust paint. It's nothing fancy or nothing like that, nothing expensive. As long as there's some sort of paint, something on it to protect it. I put a couple of coats on it so it's nice and thick. I had to go in now and fit this all up and mark and grind off all the spots where the spot welds are going to be too. And then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to go weld this whole section in place and have that done so that I can start working on this corner here. So I got it all welded in across here. All welded in, nothing pretty. Then of course there's all spot welded down there. I'm going to go ahead now and I'm going to finish all this off and have it all ready before I move on to the next piece. I think I'm going to finish this side off first, have all this done, clean all this up here, put the piece back in here, dress it all up, have that finished there before I go on to do this section over here. Is a bit more complicated because I still can't put the cab corner in it until I make all this up. Alright, we've talked about the flex cut wheels before. I've talked about how good they are. 15-L 506. I'm going to say it right this time. I have to say it wrong in a couple of videos. But these are the wheels I was talking about. I'm going to show you here now what they're like. I have spot welds here that I grind off. I'm going to show you how easy and how quick these tears these down. I got 4 spot welds here. As easy as that. I've always found them a lot faster than anything else I've ever come across. It's amazing. Well, I got all that grinded up there. And I got all in here grinded up. All that's done there. And I've re-welded a couple of spots again and re-ground it again, but it looks good there now. So it's got a nice inner edge into it. And I come over here now and start cleaning all this up. And I got this edge in here cleaned up right nice. Now I got a piece made to go in here. What can I do with that? Here it is. Got this little piece now made to go in here. I'm very stickler. I like leaving all these body seams and the door posts. A lot of times when you look at a lot of cars that had any major door post repairs, they ends up welding all this stuff up or filling over it and you never sees it. So I like it when you open the door and you see this stuff. So I'm going to go ahead now, weld all that in, tack weld it in and dress it all up. That didn't last long, though. I got as far as that. Piece laid in place and run out of gas. I'm a MIG welder. And it is 9:15 at night. So, and it's dark out. So, I'm going to have to go get a bottle of gas in the morning. Anyway. Okay, I got me bottle of gas. And I also picked up a roll of wire. I'll explain that now in a minute. This is straight CO2. A number of people have said CO2 argon mixes are better. Yes, they are better if you're getting into finesse welding and stuff like that. But if you're just doing this auto body welding, sheet metal stuff, that is all you're going to need, because you're not concerned about pretty welds. You're good about your wants penetration, and that's it. You're going to grind it all down anyway. So this here is much better for doing auto body. I do all my welding with CO2. It has a bit of splatter and stuff like that, but I priced up a bottle of CO2 argon mix this morning, which is a little bit bigger bottle, and the price of it was twice as much as this. And you don't get twice as much in the bottle, no. It costs you twice as much, more than twice as much. This was 80 bucks, and I think the bottle of CO2 argon mix was 170. So, you know, the price range varies and where you're to and stuff like that, but I just did not justify paying the extra to get argon mix for doing sheet metal work. Now, this size bottle here, that's a large roll of wire. Size is that 11-pound roll, I think it is. Five kegs, 11-pound roll. I go through about a roll and a half to one bottle. So every time I get a bottle of gas, I pick up a new roll of wire, because I know I'm going to run out of wire before I run out of gas. And that's just the knack I get into. So that's just a quick little thing. I get the large rolls. Right, it's not small rolls. Small rolls are different. I just got myself into a routine. I know what I'm going to get into. So I got the bottle of gas. It's just CO2 and an 11-pound roll of 023 wire. Anyway, let's get this all together and get back to welding this up. there it is. Pieces all put in, spot welded in, welded across here. Everything's been ground up and dressed up, cleaned up all in along the top edge of it there. So that looks original again now. I always like these seams going in along here. It's always nice to have the nice factory seam in it. When you're looking at cars, this is the stuff when you open the doors you look for. If you don't see this stuff, you know there's been a pile of work done to it. But if you do a nice enough job on it, people won't know the difference. Anyway, okay, now we're going to move on over to here. Now I went and laid that piece back in place again. And the reason why I done that, I got this piece here. And these are the reasons why it hangs onto this stuff. You can see where the original one ended. So I marked this in here, off of this here. So I'll know that when this piece here comes down, this is where it's going to end. Now I'm going to make it all longer and everything and overlap up here till I gets it all made so it fits in there, and then I'll actually trim it and cut it to fit the whole 9 yards. And this came along here like so, and then it turned and went out on an angle. Now, I still haven't put the cab corner in for the simple reason that the cab corner goes on last. You can see it overlaps all this. This overlaps this panel here. So I got to make this panel before I can install that. But I was using this panel that I made to get everything fitting so it all looked right. So I'm going to go ahead now and I'm going to start making all these pieces here to go along here to come back so I can get the, well, this doorpost section in it so I can get ready to put the cab corner in the final piece. First thing I'm going to start off with is getting this panel here. One panel at a time, and we'll go from there. Don't overthink this. Like, this got a lot of shapes going on, but right now all you're looking at is getting this piece here, get that sorted out. I just cut out a scrap piece of steel that I had over there, laid that in place. It's going to come down. I want it to go past this because I'm going to cut this off after so I get it all cleaned up nice and get a nice sharp edge on it. Also, always make it a little bit longer. And then I'm going to overlap it up here and I'm going to clink it onto that there for now. All I'm going to do is I'm going to go over in the pipe anvil now and shape this to fit in there. All I did is I stuck it in there and just rolled it all the way around it because there's a nice big crown on it. You probably could have rolled it this way too. I think that there might be more like it. But I want to get it so something that I can actually roll around. And now I got a nice round panel to start with. Here you go. It's a nice little fit. Like so. I'll tweak that a bit more now, and then I'm going to mount 2 clecos in that there. So I got somewhere for that, something to start with. So now I got this mounted in place. As you can see, I got my mark right here, and I got the cleco behind it because I'm going to be welding back here, and this is going to be cut off after the fact. And I just got the shape there. If you're looking behind, you see that it flows down, it comes down around to that, and it goes flat to this here, where you want it to. So it's got a nice crown edge on it like that there. So that'll be your first piece. Don't worry about any of this here. Next piece I'm going to do now is inside here. I got a little bit of a gap in here that I can drop a panel in there. So I'm going to cut a piece out now that's going to fit in there and slide right down there, a large piece. All I'm after is to get this inside cornered edge first. I went over underneath in my junk bench and I had this piece here. I just brought it over there and laid it in place, and it almost fits. I'll trim that up now so it fits down there better. And then what I'll do is I'll come over here now and I'll weld all this on in here, weld that in, take that off. I'll finish these 2 panels off, have it done. I'll probably even go to the point where I'll actually trim that off there now so that it actually looks like the original lip on it. But I'll go fit this in here and weld it on. Now I got that all tack welded in place. I'll take it off and I'll weld it all up and dress it up. So I trimmed it off, then I come over, clamped it in place, then I just took the grinder in and grind it back flush. All this here, down here is not, but up here this will all be going back a small bit. When I cut it all off, this will slide back a small bit. It won't be thrown off that much on the bottom. And so now I got to work on this. Now the issue I got here is that this here comes out and turns up and goes away to almost a half an inch or something. If you see here, the bottom of the panel, right here, this is the width here, and then it fades away. So when you turns it upside down, you can see the way the panel actually turns. It fades off into the corner. So now I got to step this out here. This panel here, I got to step this out so I got something to rest against. Now I'm not going to get into cutting all this up and making pieces. I'm just going to make a piece to weld right on here. That'll go into here. And I'll actually just have a ledge coming up or that'll be shaped like the way I want it. So here's all I got done. You can see that it tapers in. I got a piece welded on there and it just tapers off. It fades away to nothing. If you look at it up here, it does the same thing and it fades away. So both sides are doing the same thing. So all I'm going to do now is I'm going to box this in up here. They were all open on the end, so I'm not concerned about that. And I just got this little piece here now trimmed up. That's going to slide in there and I'm going to weld that in and dress all that up so it looks good. Here's all it is, all dressed up and ground up. I left the end of it opened so I can paint in there and everything when the time comes. But now it's got something for the base too, because down here there's a spot welds that used to go along here. So that'll spot weld along here, and that duplicates this section here now. This is the width of it and the way it tapers back. Right here it was actually trimmed off on the rocker panel. It became part of it, but I'm not getting into that. So now the next piece now will be this bottom piece. Now there's a little dimple here that you can barely see. That was in the bottom of it. I'd say that had a little button on the corner, in the corner right there. And you can see the way this here shapes, the way this comes down and it turns out sharply to it goes away to nothing. So it's wide up here, comes down about an inch from the bottom, then it cuts inward. So what I'm noticing here is this piece here kicks off. You can see it there, kicks off on an angle. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make this piece here go along here, make it all one piece, go up underneath this here for now, and I'm going to make this piece here fade off into that one. You can try to play around, try to bend these up. You're going to be getting into it, trying to shape everything. You want this here to look good, you want this here to look good, and it'll want to fade away here good. So it's probably easier for me to make this up a little piece like this here and fold into it, and then weld it around the bottom edge and dress it and grind it. So, but what I'm going to do first is I'm going to make this big one up here and get that so that it fits underneath that there and it runs up along there. This is all I did. Cut out a scrap piece of steel and I went and fit it in place there and trimmed it out so that it'll clear this large lump section. And now I'm actually bending it so it fits in there, but it's got a twist on it, if you look, the way it's got to go. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to mark it on the inside and trim all the excess off so I can tweak this here, because this here has got sort of a, this does this type of thing on the go and then it rolls out, right? So I got to, it's too hard to bend all this here, so I'm going to trim this off here and here now and then roll that around. Take it one step at a time, one cut at a time, and you'll get it. Just trimmed it back, got it close there now. I got to push it in a few spots and I'll work my way along. I'll weld it here and I'll bring the biceps here and clamp it on. And I'm going to concentrate on getting this section here welded up here. I got this edge down here is nice. Not going to worry about none of this back here yet. Okay, I clamped it on back there so I knew it was tight there. So my main concern is now is to get this edge here welded up, because everything else down here is going to work and then I can manipulate all this here after the fact. I have it all welded up there. I'm going to take this off now, weld it on the inside, and then I'm going to grind and dress all this up. I got it marked, so now I'll just cut that off there and then that side there will be finished. Alright, I made a few marks here. This here has to continue down and fade out here, and this has to fade out here. If you look at the panel, right here you can actually see the way it fades out. If you look at it from above, you can see the way it tapers off, okay? And it goes back, and then right here, you can see there's some sort of little dimple, which is this right here. So I'm going to put a dimple in it here, so you can drill a hole in it and put the rubber stop on it, and I'm going to go and finish off this here, make a piece to overlap there to weld on there. I'm probably going to make this in one piece and then trim it to fit, because this has got to be on a bit of an angle, so I could probably put these two bends in this here to suit that. All I went and done is I got a little piece cut out. I'm not going to get into the details of the angles and everything right yet. All I want to do is get that crease down through it and the angles right. So I just put an inside nip on it. Going to clamp that in the vise, bend that over, and then go over and fit it on the car and mark that other angle right here. Sometimes these little small pieces are a little bit crazy to make. I'm going to bring that up to the height of there, and you can see the way that's got to be is like so, and I'll just start trimming it back. bit by bit, and then I'll cut the angles on it across here so that folds inwards. After trimming it a few times, trimming this off a bit, I got it to where I like it now, so I'm going to scribe this section here and cut this out of it so this falls in flush to it. So then I'll have that contour. Not worried about this up here yet, because this here is going to be cut off for cut and brought in flush mounted to it as well. You can see I got a scribe line put on it there now. I'm going to pop that piece off now, go over and cut that out. You can see the way I got it all trimmed out, and that fits in there right nice. These small pieces are a bit tedious, but you'll get them. Now I'll weld it along there, and I'll tap this back and I'll weld it along there. There it is, weld it in place. Now you can see it's following the contour all the way along. So I'll take this off now, and I'll weld the inside of it, and I'll grind and dress the outside of it so it'll look like it's all one piece. Here you have the little dimple in it, tapered into the side, coming down, flows off in a way. Take it off, you can look down, see the shape of it. Get across it. So now it's got that factory look going on it. Now, next thing I'm doing now is put that little dimple in there, and that piece will be ready to install. Sometimes you gotta be pretty creative with simple stuff. I was looking for a piece of pipe that's got like a, that the end of the hammer can fit into, like so. And I was looking for something that I can use. Now, all I'm going to do now is position that on this here, like so, against that. Move this off the end of the table here so you can see it better. I'm going to position that where I want it, like so, and I'm going to weld that on with a couple of tacks that I can easily cut off again after. All the reason why I'm welding it on is I don't want it to move around. I just want a couple of tacks to hold it in place. And that's all I did. Put a tack on it there and a tack over on this side here. So now I got something to pound into. Piece on the bench. So now that'll hold it in place good enough. You can see I got 2 reference points here. So the middle's about right here. So I'm going to take my ball peen hammer and lay it right in the center of that there. And a lot of you won't like me to do it, but I'm going to hit the other end of the hammer. Nobody likes hitting the other end of a hammer. I've been doing it a long time. Making stuff like this. Even both player for me. And there you have a nice little dimple for to put your button on after. I'll clean it up there now. Now there is an extremely complicated piece that's been made with just the use of simple tools and just a little bit of know-how and multiple pieces. So what I'm going to do here now is I'm going to trim off this here. I got to trim this off in here on the back to get this fitting right, because this panel's down over this. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to scribe along here and I'll cut that right off along there so all that'll fit there. But I'm going to cut this piece off first. I got this one down here held in place and going along here, and I got to put spot welds in along here for that to weld on there. And then I'll butt weld it here and I'll butt weld it here. I trimmed everything back, got it all trimmed back here now, trimmed up here. And I went ahead and I marked this here, and I went and took a black marker and marked it all in there so I could scribe it. So I got a scribe there to come off. I got to put spot welds down along here, in across here, and up here. Don't put none in the corner here because it's the way the corner meets on these. Other side's the same way. So when I remove this now, you can actually see where I scribed it through the marker. So I'll cut that right off in through there and remove all that section is here, and then this will go in flush mount to it and butt weld it. I'll get this piece ready to go. There's one last quick test fit. You can see now it fits right underneath everything. Fits in there nice. Underneath the piece, get the piece cut out of the way. It'll slide right in there. Like so. And now that that's in place there now, the clinko hole that's right here won't line up no more because it was right about here because it overlaps, see? So now when you move it, when you cut it and you butt it, it'll slide it back. So now that there clinko hole's no good no more. But that's fine because I can always clamp it in place now. So I'm going to go ahead and now paint everything on the inside and get that ready to weld in place. I painted everything up, clamped it back in place, marked out where all the spot welds are to, and cleaned up all that to bare metal again. So I'm going to go ahead now. I'm going to start in here. I'm not going to weld none of this down here yet. I'm going to keep this where it's two. I'm going to start in here and weld it up. I'm going to work my way out and around and do all this section here first. Don't go tack welding this on in a half dozen spots, because this is going to all be moving on you now, because where it's all floating, where it's set up for it's a full cut. Just work it along here, work your way around it until he gets it all done, and then come down here and finish all this off. And there it is, all welded in and all ground up. All nice and smooth there. Little dimple there. See the entire shape of it. Going over the top of it. So I got all that there straightened away now. Next piece now is going to be the very last piece. It's going to be the cab corner. So I got to put this lip on it first, because the way this is shaped is not like a full 90-degree bend. So I'm going to put a strip down here and a strip in here and figure out this corner first before it does anything with the cab corner, to make it actually fit in the corner the way it's supposed to. So I'll make this here and bring this out now and get this all sorted out first. Alright, the first thing I went and did now is I got this piece here made up. All this is two flat pieces of steel. I cut them and I fit that in there like so. And as you see, it's a little bit longer than it should be. I'll trim that up after the fact, because I got to measure to get this bottom corner right. Put that in there right, there we go. So what I'm going to do now is I got that made. I'm going to cut the back off it, weld the back, dress all this up here to make it look proper. And then I'm going to work on getting this here to fit in here, and possibly put two clecos in it, if I can, to get it in the right position, because I have a diagonal measurement from here to there, which is 45 inches, down to this inside corner here. And I have another one from up there to measure down, which is right now. And I just got to make sure I got this corner right. So I'll get this piece made up now. So I went ahead and I finished it all off, grinded it on both sides and whatnot. Then I went and lined it up here on the top edge, so it came down here. As you can see, this is a little bit wider, but I wanted that because that way I can trim it off after the fact. And I turn around, I put a cleco in it there. Then I measured this distance from this corner here up to there, and I set it up where it should be. There's a little bit of a gap going to be here, but I'm going to address that now shortly. It won't be like that when I'm finished. And what I went and did then is I took this panel and I brought it in and lined it up where it should be on the bottom, and then I marked it on the inside there. So now I'll go trim that up and fit this again. Now I went ahead and I got that trimmed back, and then I turn around and I fit this in place. And I got this lined up nice on top, and I trimmed this down so it line up flush with that. I'm going to weld that to that now on this side here. I'm usually going to do the roll edge, but what I'm going to do here, because it's going to be kind of hard to roll this, get this fit nice, I'm going to weld this on the outside and put a little bit of extra welding on the inside so I can grind a lot of this off out here to get the nice rolled edge. And I got a little issue here, but I'm going to extend the piece onto this here now, because usually these here used to have a dab of brass in the corner. A lot of them did. And or it depends on the make, but I know it's GMs and that, some of the Fords now used to have brass welded in the corners. So I'm going to straighten that up and then just put a weld in that corner. So I'm going to weld this on, and I'll weld it all up, and we'll see what it looks like. So I got everything prepped, everything painted. I'm going to put a little tab on it there to bring that out to fill in that gap so when I weld it on. I got this all prepped and grinded up. I welded it on the inside, put 2 passes on it. And I painted everything inside and drilled it out for spot welds. So I'm going to go ahead now and I'm going to mount this on the car right here, of course. And again, I'm going to start up here and start in here and weld this section along here and get this straightened away first, because this is the crucial spot, and then I'll make everything else work accordingly to that. Down here is the same thing. Right? There it is, all welded in, joined up across through here. And across through here, and all spot welded down the back side and along the bottom, and welded up through there. And I was all spot welded on there and welded in there. Got a nice seam going down through there now. The corners all filled in. That was the problem with it there. I cleaned everything up. I went and done a test fit on my cardboard template. As you can see, that looks good all the way along. I took measurements. My measurements from here are on. That I took from there to there, and I took from here to here. They're on, and I took another one from here, which is the same, up across here. I done that one as well. And this measurement here, I took that measurement here, measured across. That's good on, right? It's nice and straight, going up and down, right? Looks good all the way around there. It's a fair bit of work to it, but they're challenging. That's what I like about these. The harder they are, the more challenging I find it, and I like, you know, the little details like that. A lot of people would overlook that, and you will see the way the crease comes down through there and fades out, and the way this here tapers up and comes back. Little rolled edge on the bottom where the quarter panel mounts. Now I'm seriously thinking that these must have been an overlap joint here from factory, and it was probably lead seam or something in here, because I don't know how they would put the quarter panel on with the rocker on the car, so there had to be a seam. With all the pictures I've looked at, I can't seem to find no seams, so it must be like a leaded seam. But yes, now all that right there is because holding on to this. Now you look at this piece now and you don't think nothing of it, but I took so much from that piece to duplicate into this here to make this work. You could see things. So like just to sit down and chop it out, like I went up into the good metal and I cut it off there, and I went over here in the good metal and I cut it off here. So like I wanted to take the entire piece. Like normally you just start chopping through all that, cutting it all out of the way. But because I cut it in such a way that I wanted to save it, I was using it for the purpose of duplicating it. And you can see all the shapes and everything there, and the way those shapes were down through there. You never ever would be able to duplicate that if you just hacked all that out of the car and threw it away and never thought nothing of it. So it's something to be said about holding on to an old rusty piece and using it for a template. Anyway, one last look of it. Now I'm going to get into this section here later. I was talking to the owner, and he told me they've after finding 2 fenders on eBay, so which is a bonus. So I haven't got to repair them rusty old fenders. They were just way too far gone. So I'm going to wait till he brings in the fender before I does anything with this here, because I got to fit that there and make the new mounting bracket here. All this is brazed in here. See, it's all gone. But I'm going to wait till I get the fender before it goes like that. But everything is finished along here. The rocker down along the bottom here. Up in here, nice seam going down through there. And I got the factory seam in along here again. Little dimple in it with the rolled edge. Anyway, that's it for that one. I hope the tips are good, and until next time. Pipe that's got like a, that the end of the hammer can then fit into, like so, and I was looking for something that I can use. Now all I'm going to do is I'm going to drop that on the floor. Hey, Fitzy here, back at the game with another one. I got complete rockers, lower door post sections, inner sills, floor sections, heater is turned on,